Hey guys, Carrie Matt for the series premiere of Fuller House, Season 1, Episode 1, our very first show again. And guys, I was really looking forward to this premiere, okay? I'm not gonna lie. I know that there are a lot of people that don't like Full House, but you guys have to understand, Full House I've always loved. I mean, Full House really is nostalgic for me, and even though I didn't grow up in the 90s, I've watched Full House since I was a little kid. It's always been a show that if it's on, I'll watch it. Really, if there's nothing else on TV, I mean, in the summer when there was nothing on TV, I turn on Full House. That's how much I love the show. And yes, I understand it's cheesy. I understand it's dated. I understand that there are really, there are a lot of tropes and things that make it very unrealistic, but it's a fun show. It's something that I really do enjoy watching, and it's a good way to kill time. I just really do enjoy it. But Fuller House, I'd say I was very worried about. I think we pretty much all had grave concerns when we heard that this show was going to be announced. I mean, just the fact that it was going to be a thing. I mean, it sounded interesting at first, but would this show really work in the modern day? Is this just something that it just felt like they were trying to revive a show that they really couldn't fit, that really didn't need to be revived? It really wasn't going to work. And knowing it was Netflix, though, I did have some hope. I said, all right, this is Netflix. They've done very well with things in the past, but this is Full House, so maybe it will work, maybe it won't. And after watching the premiere, like I said, I was very worried going into because the reviews have been pretty horrible. I haven't really heard any positive reviews really at all. But I have to say, I really did not dislike this. I thought this was actually a really solid premiere. I definitely really enjoyed it. Now, look, there are some things that really didn't or not work in this premiere, and I'm going to get into them. It's probably one of my longer reviews for a pilot, because you guys know I am going to review the first episode and then review the season. That's how I'm going to do it. But there's going to be a lot more to talk about because, of course, this is a revival, and I want to talk about how everything that happened in this first episode, which, by the way, was 35 minutes, which is very impressive because of the fact that the show was 20 minutes long when it originally came on. That's how long the original show was because, of course, with commercials. But because of Netflix, they're able to get away with a longer length. And I do applaud the show for doing that because I was worried that the show wasn't going to benefit from that. And luckily they did. And I really feel that they gave us more time to really dive deeper into these characters, show where they've been. And I like seeing that. And I can't dislike it as much as as much as there may be complaints. I can't dislike it because I love these characters. At the end of the day, that really is what matters. And let's just get into it. Let me get my phone out because I did pretty much write down everything I liked on my phone, everything I liked and then what I disliked on my phone, so I'm going to get into that. So, of course, let's talk about what I liked. Of course, the plot of this show, the thing I was most worried about is, why are they back in the house? Why are they back in the old house? It felt very just like, oh, we need to get them back there because nostalgia. But no, they had a genuine reason. Danny's been living in this house. He wants to leave because he's gotten this new job and now he's putting the house up. That is a very good way to bring all of them back together. This is the house that, Danny, Jesse, and Joey raised these three girls in, and they've been a part of their lives, and they were there to basically say goodbye to the house. And it really did feel like that reunion special that we've wanted, which I really did like seeing. And seeing all these characters again, I really did like. It's just they really haven't changed much. I mean, some of them have, but Joey especially really doesn't seem like he's changed much at all. We now know he's this very successful comedian, basically. That's what's happened with him. Jesse is still a famous musician. He's now going to be a composer for General Hospital, which is pretty hilarious, knowing that John Stamos got his start on General Hospital, which I think is pretty funny that he is composer for that. And then Danny now has a new show with Becky. It's not Wake Up San Francisco, it's Wake Up USA, and they're going to be moving to, I believe, LA for that, so that's very interesting that they're going to be going to LA instead of San Francisco, so they're going to be moving as well, and that's really, I thought was interesting to see. I like seeing these characters grow. I like seeing that they have done new things, and the four main that used to be the four main in the show still work great together, obviously, and it's great to see them back. But our main focus here, of course, is on DJ, Stephanie, and Kimmy. Let's talk about their dynamic overall, because I really like what they did with them in this episode. But before I do that, I do want to talk about the other characters, of course. John Stamos, was great. Bob Saget, David Coulier. I'm glad that they got these characters back to reprise their roles, because they could have easily just, half-assed it. But you really see that they do still care about these characters. characters. They really do want this show to work, and they really are trying, which is something that really you do notice in this show. As bad as it may be, if you think this show is bad, because I can understand if you guys don't like the show, you have to admit that these actors are trying. They're trying to make something good. They're trying to make something memorable, and they really do want this to be a good reunion, and I like seeing that, because that's what the fans want. They want to see something good. They don't want to see something half-assed, and I like that they really all did try. I thought it was very good. I definitely really enjoyed that. And that was definitely something that worked very well here. But then we get to the main cast, of course, which, of course, the main here is DJ, which I did like seeing DJ as the main focus in this episode. She definitely was the main focus. While the other characters were there, you can definitely tell right away that DJ is the main focus here, because going on with DJ, I actually really did like. I mean, we've seen the storyline a million times, but they handled it well here. DJ is pretty much balancing everything. Her husband, who we don't know his name, he's now died. Her last name is Fuller, which, yeah, that's kind of silly, but I think it works well, because, Fuller House, it kind of works in that way. But, she basically is to take care of everything. She has to take care of all the errands for her children. She has to constantly watch her infant son. She has she has 2 other boys who she has to care for. I mean, she really doesn't have a lot of time to herself, and you really do see that. And while she tries to make herself look like, she's happy and that everything's fine, you really do see that there's a lot going on with her emotionally. She's really not facing that emotional damage that's getting to her, and I really think the show did that well. And a lot of people are saying, well, why didn't Full House do that? Full House really didn't do that a lot. Reason is because Danny had already gotten over the death of Pam. Like, the death of Pam had already happened. There was time for him to get closure. But here, the death has just happened. Like, it's just come out of nowhere. And I'm glad to see that they're back at the house for something that is not the funeral. You can tell the funeral already happened, but DJ's dealing with a lot, because she's not used to having to take care of her 3 boys like she is. She's pretty much involved in her life 24/7, and she doesn't really get to have much of a life. And I really like seeing that. I really think Candace Cameron Bure really did a great job here. Sure, she's not the greatest actress, but she really cares about this role. You really do see DJ growing up, and I really like seeing that. It does go with the character. DJ was always hardworking, and she always cared about her work. And you can tell that she cares about her family than anything. She wants her boys to be successful. She wants to be in their lives, but at the same time, she does want to have her own life, and she really doesn't get to do that, and she really doesn't say she wants them. You can tell that she doesn't want to be as involved as she is. She does kind of want her own life, and I did like seeing that. I thought she definitely did a very good job here, and probably of the whole cast, I really thought that she did the best out of all of them. She really did a great job with everything she did. The emotional scenes she had as well, I really think she channeled very well, and I definitely like seeing that. Jodie Sweetin back as Stephanie. I'm glad to see that she's doing well, and I know a lot of people have said, oh, they're just trying to make her look attractive for the guys, but yeah, that's kind of the point. I mean, I understand if you feel weird that you're seeing Stephanie Tanner's cleavage and things like that, but you have to acknowledge that she has grown up. She's now an adult, and she's not this little girl anymore, which they did very well here. I think, honestly, out of all the characters, she was the one where I'm like, yeah, she definitely is not a, little girl anymore. They definitely did that very well here, and I definitely really like that. The British accent that she put on in the first, few minutes, that was kind of silly. That definitely was very 90s-esque. That's definitely something the Full House would do. That joke overall, I thought went on a bit too long, but I thought she did a good job here, because you really do see that she cares about her sister, and she now has this music career, which I like that she had a bunch of songs that the boys couldn't listen to. I thought that was pretty funny. And then that one scene where they go back into their old bedroom, and they kind of recreate, the scene from the first episode of season 1, I thought was really cute the way they did that. I really enjoyed that. They could have made it really silly, but the way they did that, you could just tell that they were reliving their childhood, and I definitely like seeing that, and I thought she did a very good job here. This is still Stephanie Tanner, though. There's still things that she doesn't like. For example, Kimmy Gibbler. She does not like Kimmy Gibbler. She still has her own quirks and things like that, and I definitely like seeing that. You can definitely tell this is Stephanie Tanner growing up, and I definitely like that. Andrea Barber, on the other hand, really doesn't seem like she's grown up much as Kimmy. I mean, yeah, she has a daughter, and she had, a husband, everything, but she still goes into the Tanner's house all the time. She still is always saying "Hola, Tanneritos" and things like that. She's still there for DJ all the time. I mean, she really doesn't seem like she's grown up very much at all. And I'm sure there's more going on with Kimmy than we think, but right now, at least, it really doesn't seem like she's grown up much, which I like seeing. Andrea Barber does a very good job in this role. She always did a good job. She, at times was very annoying towards the end of the series, but I really think they showed how lovable she can be. I mean, yeah, she's kind of annoying, but that's why we love her character. She's annoying, but that's why we love her, and they did that very well here, and you do see that she does actually care about DJ, and the scene where she does talk about where she wants, to move back because DJ was always the one person that never really thought of her as weird and just accepted her for it. It was a really touching scene. You really do see why DJ and Kimmy were friends all those years, because they really did care about each other. No matter what happened with DJ and Kimmy, they still were always best friends, and I think they always will be best friends, and the show really does acknowledge that very well, which I really love seeing, and I thought was very strong. Definitely really good stuff between DJ and Kimmy in this episode, and the chemistry between all the actors in general, I definitely really like. What I didn't like as much is some of the other characters on the show. Look, let's first talk about my biggest complaint with the show, because for me, by far, my biggest negative has to be the directions they've taken Nikki and Alex in, which, yes, they are the same set of twins from the show, which I really do appreciate, but this was not at all the direction to take these characters in. This is ridiculous. I mean, Nikki and Alex, yes, I get that when we saw them, they really were much of characters. They were pretty much just little boys that were involved in Jesse and Becky's lives and things like that. I understand that. But them being 6 years of being in college is completely ridiculous. And having, no direction for their future, want to open, a fish taco business. It's just no, this is not the direction to take these characters in at all. I don't understand why they're doing this. It's very strange. And the fact they're making fun of it, making it seem like something silly, is preposterous, honestly. I don't like the direction they've taken these characters in. I didn't find anything with them funny. I found them annoying, and I found them just really out of place. I was not a fan of what they did with these characters, and I'm like, why would you take Nikki and Alex, who have two very successful parents who really did raise them right, and make them college, not giving a fuck? I mean, that's really what their attitude is. They don't give a fuck about life. They don't really seem to care about what direction their lives go in, and that really ruins a lot of the spirit of the show. We're supposed to see this family that are well valued, and they're not, and you see that Becky is obviously very upset about this, but, they want to move back in with them. It's just, I don't like this direction that they put the two of them in. I mean, you saw in the show, Jesse and Becky raised them pretty well. They didn't really raise them in a bad way, and the show really makes it seem like they've really gone this bad direction. Now, maybe more is going on with them. Maybe we'll see them again. I don't know, but I really did not like what they did with Nikki and Alex in this episode. Definitely the worst thing for me by far. And then the new characters in the show. I have to say that Sony Nicole Bringas as Ramona is very good. I really like her character. She has a lot of spunk to her role. She's very sassy. You can definitely tell that she definitely would be Kimmy's daughter. If Kimmy had to have a daughter, that would definitely be her daughter. And I think she did that very, very well. Very funny, and I definitely really do like her character. She did a very good job here. However, the two boys, Jackson and Max, didn't really contribute much for me. And I know people are going to say, well, in Full House, Candace Cameron and Jodie Sweetin weren't the best, but honestly, when you think back to the pilot, they're one of the best things about it. They always had that charm to them. Right away, you really did see their characters, and here I do, but it seemed like the Jackson is just a younger version of Jesse, while Max is just a younger version of Danny. I mean, you see that throughout the episode, and there are some fun dynamics between Max and Danny, how Danny is so happy with the way that Max is and things like that. But if Danny's not going to be there the whole time, then this is going to get very old. And Max in general had some very annoying scenes, and maybe it'll come across as cute, but just the way that they were treating him, he was very annoying at points. And then Jackson, I don't like this character. I really don't. I think that he's rude. I think he's selfish. I think that he thinks he's too cool for school. I do like that him and Ramona kind of have a thing where I do think they're eventually going to get together, but right now it's very awkward between them because Ramona wants nothing to do with him. The scene where they were just about to talk then on their cell phones, that is very, very realistic for nowadays. I thought that was very well handled, but I don't really like this character. I'm not a fan of Jackson and Max. I don't really think they brought anything new to these roles, and I understand that they're child actors, and maybe they can do more of them, but right now they're really not doing anything for me, and that really sucks because one of the things that stuck out about Full House were the three girls. You always wanted to watch them. You wanted to see them progress. You wanted to see them grow up, and these two boys, I'm just not a fan of right now. I'm not really attached to their characters, and I don't really care as much, I have to say. Scott Wanger was also back as Steve in this episode, which some of his stuff worked very well. I like that him and DJ have kept in contact because that was how they were on the original show. They always were friends, even after they broke up. If you remember in season 7, he still was on the show. He still made appearances here and there because they remained friends. And even in season 8, at the end of the show, they remained friends. They went to prom together. What I don't like is the fact that Steve is blatantly obvious that he wants her back, and I wouldn't be as upset as if he wasn't in another relationship and he wasn't married, because they didn't imply that Steve is unhappy in this marriage. That, yes, he said that obviously it cost him a lot of money, but he's still married and we don't know who his wife is. We don't know why he wants to, if he wants to leave his wife, but they're making it so obvious that he wants her back, and it just comes across as very desperate. I mean, just move on, dude, seriously. This was a girl you dated in high school for about 2 years, and now you've moved on. Just get over her. And I understand that he is in love with her, and they probably are going to get together at some point, but right now, she really doesn't want anything to do with him. You see that they just want to be friends, and he clearly doesn't. I do like seeing, of course, him always being hungry. That's always something that's good. It's good to see Scott Wanger back, but I just don't really like what they're doing with the character right now. So Steve, they really need to find a way to make the character not so blatantly obviously wants to be with DJ, because I do think eventually, like I said, they are going to get together, and DJ is going to have to move on at some point. It's just not this early. I feel like this is not really the time to do this now. Maybe season 2, get them together, but now is really not the time to already have him want her back. Definitely. Have them as friends, that's fine, but don't have this whole thing with him wanting her back, doing every can to get that. I think that's really dumb, and it's very sitcom, definitely. Eva LaRue as well as Danny's wife, Terry. Why wasn't she there the whole time? I mean, why'd she just randomly show up at that party? That really didn't make any sense to me. If she's his wife, then why'd she just randomly show up at that party? I mean, that really didn't make any sense to me. How'd she get there? Things like that. That was just weird. It felt like they just gave Danny a wife for whatever reason. It seemed like his character really wasn't well utilized at all, and that was also very strange. And then Fernando, Kimmy's ex-husband, I think he's okay. Nothing really that great with his character. I heard that he is definitely one of the standouts, but we'll have to see overall. But those are pretty much all my complaints with the cast. Let's get to the script for this show, because the script is one of the things that made Full House so good. Yeah, it didn't have the greatest script and the greatest lines, but the delivery from the cast was always really good, and here it is good too. My biggest problem, though, with some of the lines is that some of the references to the original show is very good, like having Becky come down from the attic and complaining about how they all, she doesn't understand how they had to climb all those stairs and things like that, and she doesn't really understand how they did all that for all those years. That's a very fun, just not too on-the-nose reference, and a very subtle reference showing that, yeah, it is kind of unrealistic that they had to live in that attic all that time, and now she's really thinking back at that, and I like seeing that, and you see again that they've grown up, and I thought that was definitely very well done. I really did like seeing the way that they did that. That was definitely something I thought was really great. I do have to say, though, the live audience really does ruin a large portion of the show, because literally every time a character came on screen, they would have the most uproarious applause, as you guys know in the first episode, and it really kills the energy. I mean, yes, I understand the energy needs to be there, but the audience was laughing at literally every joke, and some of them just aren't as funny as the audience, thought they were. And I don't know if it was that the audience were told to laugh at everything, but not everything was as funny as they thought they were. I'm pretty sure the audience was told to laugh at everything. I do like that the show has a live audience, because the original show did, when a lot of shows don't nowadays, but they didn't really need to laugh at as much, and they didn't need as big as applause they did. It really was it came across kind of obnoxious at times, I have to say. But some of the references, like I said, some of them were very good, but then some of the ones just didn't really work at all. Like Jesse singing Forever, for example. I didn't have a problem with him singing Forever. It's just out of every song, I understand, it's just, guys, it's kind of tiring. We didn't need all this stuff in the first episode. You could have done it throughout the show, and then having them say random quotes like Stephanie saying how rude, or Joey bring out Mr. Woodchuck. You knew those things would be in here, but some of it just feels like we just said that for nostalgia reasons. Like, it didn't really go with the scene. It didn't really seem like they need that line in there, and you have Jesse saying things like how mercy, you would have the crowd go wild and they just clap and be like, oh yeah, I get what you're talking about, and that really didn't work for me. The absence of Michelle, it worked, but it was kind of silly the way they just looked at the audience and things like they were upset with Mary-Kate and Ashley, because I heard they weren't upset with what they did, that they were offered back, and they don't act anymore. That's the thing. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen retired from acting, and they don't want to do acting anymore. Maybe they'll come back from season 2 if the show's successful, but right now, they don't want to, and I understand that. They just have moved on to other things. They've had this fashion empire, and they don't really want to do it. I understand that. I mean, that would be ridiculous for them to do that, so I really have no problem with that. But their joke overall, I thought was kind of silly. I really didn't think it was needed. And then the most blatantly in-your-face references is the way that the most bizarre scene in this episode for me was the last scene. Why in the world were they singing the Flintstones song? I understand that that was the thing that made Michelle stop crying in the first episode, but so much time has passed since then. There are kids that I don't even think know what the Flintstones are. I mean, the Flintstones are still around, but what kid would just, who remembers every single thing? I mean, Stephanie and DJ seem to remember every single thing from their past, and that's not really realistic at all. Like, them remembering the Flintstones theme song, that really didn't work really at all for me, and especially because they just like, oh yeah, we're trying to reference the first season. You don't need to put a side-by-side like that. You could just have them do that and be like, oh yeah, this is like that scene. You don't need to tell me in my face that that's what it is, because I know that's what they're trying to do. I know that they're trying to reference the original show and things like that. You don't need to do it side by side. That's something that really didn't work for me, and I didn't really think worked well here at all, was the side by side like that. That didn't really work. But I do like where the show is headed. I think it's interesting to see how the three girls are going to be able to manage this. The fact that Stephanie is moving in with DJ and Kimmy's moving in as well, and the fact they're not going to tell Ramona, that's very interesting. I like the way where that's headed. Everyone else leaving, I think, is kind of disappointing, because we do want to see these characters. I'm sure we're going to see them again every now and again, but just knowing we're not going to see Jesse every week, we're not going to see Danny every week, every episode, we're not going to see Joey every episode, and we're not going to see Becky every episode, is a bit of a disservice, because we've come to love these characters, but I understand. They've done their time. Like Stephanie said, they did their share for them. Now it's their time to move on and take care of these kids, and I'm interested in seeing where that's going to go. I also really do love the intro for the show. I think they did the perfect thing with the intro. It pays tribute without being exactly like the original. Carly Rae Jepsen really did change it up to her own thing, made it modern. I like seeing that, and the show does know that it's in the modern times. Just some of the references in the show really are just 90s references, and they don't really make a lot of sense anymore, I have to say. I also give it to the show for being a bit more risque. There are some more risque references, like Becky and Jesse talking about how, they had wild sex in the attic last night, things like that. That's not really something we heard a lot of in the original show. You can definitely tell the times have changed, and I definitely like seeing that. And the show definitely is trying to appeal to both, older audiences that grew up with the show, who are probably going to watch with their kids, but they know that they're older, and that these are kids that, these are adults that watched the show when they were kids, and now they're older, and I like the show's trying to appeal to them, because that's who's going to be watching the show. People like, me, who grew up with the show since I was a kid, and now, at 17, I still do watch the show. That's some of the things that I look for. I look for those references, but we don't need them constantly. I don't need these constant references. I need different things, and I like the show's trying to do something different. I like the energy that the show has, and that's something the show, I think, is constantly going to have. It's always going to have that energy. The cast really does work really well together, and I know there are so many casts where they're like, oh, we really are family, and it's not really true, but no, they are. I mean, they've been to each other's weddings. They've been at parties. They really did stay in touch. When they said that we were a family, they really meant it, and I like seeing that. Comet Jr. as well, I think that's kind of silly the way they did that. But overall, guys, that's basically it for my thoughts on the first episode of Fuller House. I definitely really like where the show is headed. I think this definitely was a very solid premiere overall. Just those few things really didn't work as well for me. But I'm interested in seeing where the show is going to go. I mean, I've heard some people say it's completely like the original show, but honestly, if they do change up some things like this, I think it's fine they're doing that. I mean, there are some different dynamics here. For example, it wasn't Danny's brother, it was Danny's uncle. And here it's DJ's sister, and the dynamic is definitely very different, and you have two people that really don't really get along. And yeah, Jesse and Joey at first didn't really get along as well, but not to the extent of the way that, Stephanie and Kimmy do, which I definitely did like seeing. And yeah, the first episode was very much like a reunion special, but I think that was the right way to do it. Close out that part of the show, introduce us to the new stuff, and I like seeing that. I thought that was well done the way they handled that. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys saw this first episode. Love to hear your thoughts on it. I can totally understand if you guys do not love the show. I'll say right now, if you don't watch Full House, you're not going to like the show. That's simple. Don't watch the show if you haven't seen Full House, because you're not going to like it. But that's basically my review. Hope you all enjoy it. We'll see you guys in my next video. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and I will see you guys in the next video, which will be for the Vampire Diaries. The first part of the Vampire Diaries Originals crossover. I've already watched Vampire Diaries. I will give you my thoughts on it later, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.